Welcome to Module CCS 13 on EU Annex 1 risk assessments. This session will discuss our approach to executing risk assessments for compliance to EU Annex 1 requirements. In today's session, we will cover the essentials of risk assessments and their application to EU Annex 1. We will cover the basics of EU Annex 1 risk assessments, ICHQ9 Quality Risk Management Approach to EU Annex 1. We will define how to assess severity, occurrence, and detectability of risks. We will use the EU Annex 1 risk assessment templates that we use internally, and review practical examples of EU Annex 1 risk assessments, and then interpret graphical representations of the risks identified. After this presentation, you should be able to perform a gap analysis of your facility and quality system for compliance to EU Annex 1. This module is to be used to assess your current state of compliance with EU Annex 1. Here are the main GMP requirements to be assessed and are based on the EU Annex 1 chapters. This includes the Pharmaceutical Quality System, or PQS, the premises, equipment, utilities, personnel, production and specific technologies, environmental and process monitoring, and quality control. Our approach to quality risk management, guided by ICHQ9, begins with risk assessments. Here we evaluate risks based on severity, which is the impact on product quality or patient safety, the occurrence, which is the likelihood of non-compliance, and detection, which is the probability of spotting issues before they cause harm. We use these scores to calculate a risk priority number, or RPN, which helps us prioritize actions. Next, in risk control, we focus on reducing high priority risks and documenting any acceptable risks with clear justifications. Finally, with risk review and documentation, we regularly revisit and update risk levels, ensuring our risk management stays aligned with evolving conditions and maintains compliance. Severity helps us gauge how serious an issue could be if it is not controlled, with a direct link to product quality and patient safety. Here's how we categorize it. 1 is low severity. This represents a minimal impact. Issues in this category are unlikely to affect product quality or patient safety significantly. Think of minor procedural deviations that don't pose a real risk to sterility. They're worth noting but are unlikely to cause harm. 2 is moderate severity. Here we are dealing with issues that have a noticeable impact. A moderate severity score means that there's a real potential for contamination risk or a quality issue, though it might not compromise sterility directly. An example could be a procedural lapse in cleaning that doesn't immediately threaten the product but introduces a moderate risk. 3 is high severity. This is where the stakes are highest. High severity indicates a significant impact that could directly compromise product safety or patient safety. Issues like a failure in critical equipment or a sterilization process problem falls in here. These demand immediate attention as they have the greatest potential to affect the end product and ultimately patient safety. By assigning a safety score, we can clearly see what the most critical risks lie. This allows us to prioritize our focus on areas where quality and safety are of greatest risk, ensuring our resources and attention go where they're needed most. Here's an example with the same data presented in table format, with the severity risks 1, 2, 3 aligned to minor, moderate, and high severity risks. Next, let's look at occurrence, which is all about how likely it is that a risk or non-compliance might actually happen within the process. Occurrence tells us how frequent an issue might arise based on existing control measures. And the scoring is 1, low occurrence. This indicates a rare occurrence. Here the process has robust control measures in place that make it unlikely for the risk to occur. Think of it as a well-monitored, low-risk process where everything is tightly controlled. 2 is moderate occurrence. For moderate occurrence, there is occasional chance of an issue. The control measures are there, but there may be some gaps. It is not a frequent issue, but is enough to require monitoring. This could be a process where occasional deviations happen due to less than perfect controls. And 3 is high occurrence. A high occurrence score means that there is frequent likelihood of failure. In this case, control measures are either inadequate or ineffective, making the process prone to repeated issues. Think of this as a red flag that signals a high risk of non-compliance unless stronger controls are implemented. By assessing occurrence, we can identify which risks are most likely to happen and prioritize efforts to strengthen control measures where they're most needed. Here as well we have the occurrence listed in table format with occurrence rating 1, 2 and 3 aligning with occurrence level low, moderate and high. Now let's talk about detection. This is all about our ability to catch an issue before it can impact a product. Detection measures how likely it is that our monitoring or controls will spot a failure in time. And these are score of 1 for high detection. A score of 1 means there is a high chance we'll detect any issue quickly. Our monitoring systems are well established, effective and give us confidence that we'll spot a failure if it happens. It's like having a safety net that's always there to catch potential problems. A score of 2 aligns with moderate detection. Here detection is possible but not guaranteed. We have some monitoring in place, but it might miss certain issues. Think of this as having a safety net with a few holes. It can catch most problems, but there is a risk that something could slip through. And a score of 3 indicates low detection. A low detection score means that there is a minimal chance we'll detect a failure in time. The monitoring or control measures are either lacking or not effective enough, so there is a high risk of issues going unnoticed. This is where we're most vulnerable and need to focus on strengthening our controls. By assessing detection, we understand where our monitoring might fall short, allowing us to prioritize improvements and reinforce our safety nets in the areas that need it most. And here also we have a table indicating the same actions for detection. So detection rating of 1, 2 and 3, assigning to levels low, moderate and high. The risk priority number is calculated by multiplying the 3 variables once the scores are determined. Once the RPN is calculated, the risk level is assigned as low risk for a score of 1 to 3, medium risk for a score of 4 to 12, and high risk for a score that's greater than 12. A remediation action is initiated if deemed necessary. Generally, remediation is required for medium and high risks. Now let's take a closer look at the risk priority number or RPN and what it means in practice. The RPN helps us prioritize risks based on their combined score, guiding us where and how to take action. An RPN of less than 3 is the lowest risk priority. This range represents the lowest risks. Generally, no corrective action is required as the risk level is minimal. However, if either severity or occurrence is high, we may need still to implement measures to prevent potential issues from escalating. Here the focus is on monitoring rather than immediate intervention. For moderate risk, with an RPN between 3 and 12, we're looking at a moderate risk level. For these risks, defining corrective actions become essential in preventing problems from growing. These risks may not be critical now, but addressing them promptly helps maintain stability in the process and avoids future complications. For high-risk items with an RPN greater than 12, these are most severe and considered high risk. Immediate corrective actions are required to eliminate these risks. QA approval is also mandatory to confirm that these actions align with the highest standards of quality and safety. By understanding these RPN ranges and classes, we can prioritize actions effectively, ensuring we address the most significant risks first and uphold the highest standards for product quality and patient safety. Thank you for watching this introduction to this module. If you'd like to watch the remainder and get 25% off our Contamination Control Fundamental program,
Head over to our website at pharmalliance.ie/training-programs and use code YT25OFF. Please do it now as spaces are limited and it's expiring soon.
And we'll see you on the next module.